We visited Trenton with Leslie and John, where we saw the State House and both houses of the legislature, the Assembly and the Senate. It was the one rainy day of their visit, and it was a good thing to be doing on a rainy day because we were inside. This is the Senate. On the other hand, the day that we visited several locations on New Jersey's ocean, we had a great sunny day. As you can see, this is Island Beach State Park, miles and miles of sand dunes and barrier island along New Jersey's ocean. North of the park, we will see one quick scene of the Seaside Heights boardwalk. There's Uncle John and Carolyn on the Seaside Heights boardwalk. And this now is Spring Lake, New Jersey, on the beach, the location where our friends Mary and Rick got married just a few days before Leslie and John visited. Right there in front of those rocks was where they set up chairs, and the minister married them, and I was honored to be the matron of honor. So that was one of our New Jersey shore stops. On another day, we visited the Grounds for Sculpture in Hamilton, New Jersey. That is a magnificent, sprawling acres and acres, indoors and outdoors, mostly outdoors, by Seward Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson family. One of his specialties is what he calls solid impressions, where he takes famous, well-known impressionist paintings like this one, and they become solid, three-dimensional, graced by Uncle John there. This is another one. I don't remember all the names, but another thing he's famous for, Mr. Johnson, is life-sized bronze sculptures, of which this is an example. I think this is called the Employee Shower, and we'll see many more of that style where he has cast live, real people, real regular people doing daily things, and those sculptures can be seen all over the world. Here's another solid impressionism example. And there again, this is part of, I can't remember which one it is, but she's a sculpture. This is Rat's Restaurant. Rat's named for the character in Wind of the Willows, the Kenneth Grahame children's book. We had lunch there with Leslie and John. And here we're enjoying wonderful examples of the magnificent landscaping all through. And here the landscaping is the setting for one of the solid impressions. This is another view of Rat's Restaurant. And here's one of those bronze sculptures. This is one of several examples where the figure is reading a newspaper. Several opportunities to look over the shoulder of the sculpture, of the figure in the sculpture. Look over the shoulder and read the newspaper. In one case, the newspaper is covering the figure's face. He's not reading it, he's taking a nap. But it's always fun to read the newspaper story. It was great that Uncle John had here's another individual, well, maybe it's the same one. It was great that Uncle John had his scooter that day. This is a sculpture. because we covered a lot of ground. And here, this is a takeoff on the witches in Macbeth with their cauldron. It's pretty ugly when you get close up. This is George Siegel's bread line, Depression bread line. And again, the landscaping, an alley of bamboo. This is one of 2 or 3 buildings that have changing exhibitions, art, paintings, and sculpture. Unconditional Surrender is Johnson's version of the famous photograph, Kissing the War Goodbye. And I think this guy is throwing a frisbee, but he's not real. And nor are these folks. And you'll note the woman in the background, she's going to be in the foreground right here. She's actually carrying a guide, a map of the grounds for sculpture in her hand. That's part of the sculpture. Did a lot of walking, and of course Uncle John kept up with his scooter. The peacocks are part of the beauty among the landscaping at the grounds for sculpture. And Marilyn in the 7-Year Itch. This is a life-size one. There was one outside, a monumental, huge one, which has been moved at least by now. And one of several versions of the Maja Desnuda, paintings and sculptures. There's one out of doors as well, outside of the building. And the Mona Lisa. You can go behind this partition and get in the picture. For some reason we did not. Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring. Very famous painting. And this is a solid impression. I don't remember whose work it is. You can walk into this room. It looks flat. Before Seward Johnson got into sculpture, he was painting. And these are snack trays in which he was investigating his painting skills. One might say, if you were there, you might think it was good that he got into sculpture. Another newspaper reader. This is inside the Welcome Center, I believe. And here's another Maja Desnuda outside. More than life-size, solid impression. I don't remember the name of this. And here's a professional woman who's taking her dog out for a walk when she gets back from her 9-to-5 job. There's balance. Another alley. Look how close together these trees, these birch trees are. And a stolen kiss in a private place. There's a ball and chain. Pretty bright. And this regular guy is taking a break. On the other side of this pond or lake is a part of Hamilton, New Jersey, the home of the grounds for sculpture. And this is our last day of Leslie and John's visit. We went all the way down to Cape May. We had lunch down there at a nice restaurant. They had fried clams. And then we took a trolley tour. Way too short, but we got to see some of the Victorian houses of Cape May and bed and breakfasts. We stopped in the little shopping area for a cold drink. That's at one point. And Carolyn did a little bit of shopping. Here's one of the big wide beaches of Cape May that we saw. I can't remember from the trolley or the car. Bob wanted us to be sure to see this house where he spent a couple of summers as a young teenager. The sort of boardwalk, it's an asphalt boardwalk here, at least in this part of Cape May. And the concrete ship, Bob loves bringing people to show them when he was a child, you could see way more of this concrete ship than you can now. Every time we go back, less and less is visible. But what a stunning picture here as the sun is not quite setting. And there it is, the end of a very short week with Leslie and John.